Can an American citizen love his home country and support China? Or does supporting China actually make him anti-American? That is the question that we'll be answering in today's video. We're making weekly vlogs about China and its role in society today. I believe it's very important for all of us to understand more about China because moving forward, China is always going to play a pivotal role in our world today. Now, I believe that many people around the world actually fear China, and the basis for that fear is that they simply do not understand China. Now, I'm hoping I can share my experiences and insights from living in China for over 10 years to help you better understand the relationship between these two great world superpowers. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. The reason that I'm making this video is actually to respond to a comment that I received earlier this week on the channel. Earlier this week, somebody said to me, "Cyrus, how does it feel to betray your home country and support China?" By far, the vast majority, well over 98% of the comments that I receive on this channel are actually very positive in nature. And I believe the reason for that is that I am always preaching cooperation, learning to work together. You'll often hear me say that when China and the United States come together, the entire world wins. However, when I responded with this message of cooperation and learning to work together, this user responded, "Cyrus, I hope you get down on your hands and knees and you beg your ancestors for forgiveness." You see, this type of mindset is actually very dangerous, and it's actually a very typical mindset of someone that has been exclusively following mainstream media. You see, mainstream media around the world is always portraying China in a very negative light. Mainstream media does not like to share any of the positive things that are actually happening in China. And right now, unfortunately, we are all told that China is our greatest enemy and that we must defeat China. Now, I believe that this problem originally started from the top. It started with President Donald Trump earlier this year when he started calling it the China virus and the Kong flu. Now, it's amazing. Here we are almost a half a year later since the coronavirus came into our world, and we realize that there's actually no scientific proof that the coronavirus actually originated in the Wuhan lab. Michael Pompeo has had to eat his words and realize that there is no evidence and that actually was just a conspiracy theory. Here we are in August 2020, and we pretty much know that the coronavirus did not in fact originate in China, but it was most likely circulating around Europe as early as March of 2019. But the attacks against China just continued. The next one was Huawei. Now, Huawei is the largest telecommunications company in the world. They're also the largest cell phone manufacturer in the world. But is Huawei really a national security threat? If it was, then why did the UK give them until 2027 to remove all of their 5G hardware? That is the amazing thing that people don't really understand about Huawei. Huawei is primarily a hardware company. They're making the devices to use the internet. They're not a software company that actually collects data. Now, next on the line was TikTok, a very popular social media app that has spread like wildfire across America. The interesting thing is that most people in America never actually knew that it was a Chinese company. But is TikTok really a national security threat? Well, I like this tweet from Brett Hooley. "Google has my credit card details, 10 years of personal photos, passwords, RailPass, emails, and it knows where I work and live. TikTok has videos of me dancing to Katy Perry songs with my daughter. Let's ban TikTok." Now, the reality is that TikTok, again, is not a national security threat. This is actually just the United States trying to take down another competitor. You see, the amazing thing about TikTok is that it's a Chinese company that actually learned how to connect better with American consumers than American social media companies themselves. The amazing thing about this is that Donald Trump has actually opened the doors for either Microsoft or Oracle or another huge tech giant in the United States to actually buy the TikTok operations. But here's the catch. President Trump said the United States Treasury should get a very big proportion of the sale price if Microsoft buys TikTok. This wasn't about national security threat. Again, this was just simply the United States trying to eliminate a competitor that is doing something better than them. And now next on the chopping block was WeChat, the largest communications app in the world with well over 1/5 of the world's population using it on a monthly basis. Now, despite Donald Trump saying that WeChat again is a national security threat, there are many U.S. corporations that are not agreeing with this. More than a dozen big U.S. companies, including Apple, Ford, Walmart, and Disney, are pushing back against the Trump administration plans to bar transactions related to the WeChat app. But how will the WeChat ban actually affect America? Well, let's take a look at some data from Apple. Now, this tweet was shared by Liu Xin, a great reporter based in Beijing. Donald Trump will force Apple to remove WeChat from its Apple Store. 95% of Chinese iPhone owners would abandon Apple without WeChat. 25% of Apple's revenue comes from China. 1% of WeChat revenue comes from the US. You do the math. You see, Apple has become the world's most valuable company, just recently surpassing over $2 trillion in market cap. And I've mentioned this before. They've been able to do that simply because of their relationship with China. Not the fact that China accounts for 25% of their sales, but also the fact that they manufacture all of their equipment in China and then import it back into the US. Apple is a tremendously valuable company because of its relationship with China. Now, at this point, it's very clear that Donald Trump will continue to lead America down this anti-China road. However, it could just be a political ploy to get reelected this coming November. I think in the long term, Donald Trump realizes that the United States and China must learn to work together. I mean, surely he does not want a full-out war with China. But at this point, why don't we ask a former president, Jimmy Carter, on his thoughts about China and a potential war? Now, in April 2019, Jimmy Carter took a call about China from a concerned Donald Trump, and this is what he said: China has not wasted a single penny on war. Now, this article is simply amazing and really shows you the former president Jimmy Carter and how he understands what actually is happening in China. Since 1979, do you know how many times China has been at war with anybody? None. And we have stayed at war. The United States has only enjoyed 16 years of peace in its 242-year history, making the country the most warlike nation in the history of the world. Now again, this is coming from former United States President Jimmy Carter. And what is the reason behind this? Now, Jimmy Carter goes on to say that this is because of America's tendency to force other nations to adopt our American principles. What an amazing insight from Jimmy Carter. But it doesn't stop there. Let's continue reading this article. In China, meanwhile, the economic benefits of peace were clear to the eye. How many miles of high-speed railway do we have in this country, he asked. Well, why don't we take a minute to take a look at the high-speed rails in China and compare them to the United States and other countries around the world. We can see that China has over 35,000 kilometers of high-speed rail, while the United States just has over 700. That's an amazing difference, and it shows you what China can accomplish when they're spending their money on actually reinvesting into the country. The U.S. has wasted, I think, $3 trillion on military spending. It's more than you can imagine. China has not wasted a single penny on war, and that's why they're ahead of us in almost every way. Now, this interview from Jimmy Carter is truly eye-opening, and it really shows you the difference between the United States and China. But for more insights into this, let's look at John Ross, a senior fellow at Chongyang Institute for Financial Studies. He goes on to say, the U.S. knows that in a peaceful economic competition, its capitalistic economy will lose to China's socialist economy. That is why the U.S. is resorting to trade wars, technological boycotts, military pressure, etc. In its own way, U.S. admits superiority of the socialist economic system. This is an amazing insight into why the United States has become so anti-China in recent months. I mean, even one of the most innovative entrepreneurs in America, Elon Musk, recently went to China and said this about the two countries: China rocks while the U.S. is full of complacency and entitlement. Now, Elon Musk is an amazing entrepreneur, and he has built a fascinating company in Tesla. He is transforming space exploration with SpaceX, and it's incredible the work that he is truly doing right now. But he realizes the differences between the United States and China, and of course, he seeks to make profits in both countries. But it's important that somebody like him is speaking out and giving some clarity to the situation. Now, up until this point in the video, I've provided a lot of concrete evidence as to why the United States has become very anti-China. And I do believe that it could be completely related to getting Donald Trump reelected and securing him another 4 years in the White House. I think it's a very realistic expectation that coming in January 2021, if he wins another 4 years, that Donald Trump could actually change his entire motive about China and actually say, you know what we need to do? Let's sit down with China, let's hash out our differences, and let's work on phase 2 and phase 3 of these trade deals. The reality is that China and the United States are so interconnected. Our economies, our markets, everything is so interconnected that it's basically impossible for the United States to separate away from China. I think it's very important that Donald Trump actually sits down and actually learns to reason with China because, again, there's only two options in this game. We can continue down the road that we are going, which will ultimately lead to war, or we can take a pivot back, find a solution, and we can learn to work together. Again, if we go for the second option and we pivot to peace and we learn to work together, the entire world is going to win. Now, I haven't answered that question yet. Is it wrong for an American to actually support China? I believe the answer to that is no. I am here standing in the middle. I am an American citizen. I am an American expat, and I've been living around the world for the past 13 years. And I take it with great pride that I am an American expat because I essentially am traveling around the world shining a light for my home country. I am a representative of America around the world. And when I go to China or Canada or Europe or wherever I am in the world, I want people to realize that I am from America. And I want people to say, Cyrus is a good American. He understands what's going on in the world and he promotes world peace. I believe that that is the true American. It's not only about making America great, it's about making America great and learning to work with countries around the world. Again, I'll say my key phrase again. When China and the United States learn to work together, the entire world wins. Now, it's because of the love of my country and my frustration at the current situation in America that I feel this way. There was a cartoon that was recently published in the China Daily, and I think it is the perfect analogy to the situation. Here we have a U.S. politician who is running over from his house trying to look into China. And we can see that the United States has so many social issues that we have to work on. It has so many problems that it is dealing with, but yet we are not focusing on the problem. We are looking elsewhere. This is what I've said from the beginning. The United States has so many issues. Let's focus on ourselves first. If we want to make America great again, let's stop attacking China. Let's focus on ourselves. But what do actually the Chinese people think about this? Well, here's a couple comments that recently came on my YouTube channel that I think are worth mentioning. As a Chinese, the ultimate freedom I want is to be free from Western interference and political sabotage. We want to be left alone and be free to enjoy our traditional, concentrated, elite-based political structure which exists in China for 2,000 years. We don't want to change that. We don't want two political parties fighting all the time, creating chaos, and driving the nation divided. A unified and stable society is the greater good here in China, even if that means some individual freedom is sacrificed. Comments like these are very common on my channel, and I hear many Chinese people reaching out. You know, the typical Western response is this: Cyrus, I love China. I have no problem with the country. I even love Chinese people. They're very friendly. And you know what? I even like Chinese food. However, I do not like China's government. But I have news for you, because there's people in China that are saying this: Cyrus, I love America. It's a great country. I love American people, like yourself. They're very friendly. I even like American food, but I do not like the U.S. government. It goes both ways, and this is something that's really important to understand. But what we need to do as the United States is we need to focus on ourselves. Take a look at this comment that was just left this morning on my channel. As a kid, I grew up in China admiring how embracing and open the United States is. We used to admire America and see it as our model and dreamland. But I am really disappointed by what I see in America now. Why are Americans suddenly so racist and anti-China? I miss the old days when I was 13, when I first traveled to the U.S. China and the United States are so close. People in the U.S. were nice and warm-hearted to me. Now I don't know if I still want to be in the U.S. in this period of time. I hope the old America, the dreamland of my childhood, will come back soon. Now I believe that this comment really shows what a lot of Chinese people are feeling. China is not trying to go out and trying to take over the world. They're not even trying to overtake America as the #1 superpower in the world. I think it's just inevitable that that's going to happen. You have a country with 1.4 billion people and a thriving economy. I mean, of course China's going to overtake America. America has only 350 million people. I mean, think about in 3 decades' time, India will probably overtake the United States as well. So it's not about the U.S. always remaining #1. And I tell you this, even if China or India overtakes the United States will still always be that world leader. Even if China's economy overtakes America, Chinese people are still going to look culturally at America as the world leader. I think that's an important point for everybody to understand. Now, everybody, in conclusion, I think it's important that we must realize that we must find a solution to this conflict between the United States and China. There's 2 options. We can either go to war or we can pivot to peace. What do you want to choose?